What's going on, guys? It's Jig here, and today I'm going to talk to you guys about how you can prepare for wipe in Tarkov. Now, I know wipe is a little bit away. We haven't gotten it confirmed yet, and Nikita said that it's not planned, but I think it's still important for a lot of people to be thinking about wipe and to be thinking about how they can improve their gameplay at the beginning of wipe. Now, at this point in time, wipe could be 1 month away, wipe could be 2 months away. Wipe could be in a week, we don't know. And we do know that there's going to be a factory expansion coming, but we don't know if there's going to be a wipe with it. Now, that being said, I'm just going to go ahead and start talking about how you can be ready for a wipe and how you can start to get ready for a wipe in a way that will help you improve your gameplay at the beginning. So, number one, what I'm going to talk about today is resetting your account / buying a new account. So the reason I say this is because a lot of people right now, they're getting really comfortable with the late game gameplay in Tarkov, where they're running nonstop slicks, windy exfil helmets, and modded out guns galore, right? Now, anyone that's running that constantly, they're starting to lose their, sense of what Tarkov is going to be like at the beginning of wipe. You're going to die a lot more often. You're going to die way easier. And every single bullet in the game is going to penetrate your armor early game, right? So I think it's very important that people start to either reset their account to, understand these early game missions again, and to understand, what works against scavs, what works against players. You need to understand what you're actually going to need to use early game. As far as gear and guns, you're not going to have access to, the best gear, the best guns. You're going to have access to only level 1 traders at the beginning, right? So it's very important that, you get used to what the early game is going to be like. So that being said, I think it's very important that people start to reset their account. I know that there's very many people that have already done that. And especially if this is your first wipe, I think it's very important that you get either a new account, like a cheap, standard account to play on, just on the side if you don't want to reset your progress, or if you don't care about your progress, just go ahead and reset it, because it'll help you a lot more in the long run when the wipe eventually does come, when you're ready, because you'll feel a lot more comfortable when you have to go get those 3 Solewas again, and you have to go check water in dorms, and you got to go get the bronze pocket watch. All of those quests that are at the beginning of the game, it'll help you a lot more if you understand how to do them faster and more efficient, and how to get to those areas faster and, beat other players to those areas. So I think it's very important that you reset your account or you get a new account. So that being said, I think that concludes number 1. I'm going to have 5 of these here. Number 2 is, review your level 1 traders. So level 1 traders, right? If we go ahead and look at our level 1 traders here, we'll go to prop poor first. I think it's very important that, not only are you preparing for wipe in the sense that you're playing as a low level character with low level gear, but it's very important that, you're understanding what you're going to have access to. If you look at these level 1 traders before wipe even starts, it'll give you a huge leg up, at the beginning of wipe, because every second that you spend in your stash trying to gear up and get ready every time, that's just wasted time that other people are using to get into raid. So you need to be as fast as possible getting back into those raids, spending as much time as possible in raid and the least amount of time possible out of raid. So, that's not to say you should rush things, but you should also be prepared on, what's effective, what's cheap, what's smart, and, what's useful. So if we look at Rapport here, you want to already understand that, what does he have available that you need to be using at the beginning of wipe? For me, personally, it's the Mosin. I believe that the Mosin is the most important offer he has at a level 1, because 1, you're going to be leveling up your sniper level early game, and 2, there's probably 8+ missions that involve the Mosin right at the beginning. So I think it's very important to, understand that Rapport sells the Mosin. Remember that. He also sells the headset for 13K right at the beginning of wipe. So that's also important. The Ratnik helmet, 33K. That's also important. You get 3 every restock. All right, so that's Rapport. Let's go to Therapist. Therapist level 1. a good barter that I like from Therapist is her paid for a Salewa. If you give her 1 paid, she'll give you a Salewa, and you can do 2 every restock, and that's pretty good. You also need to remember that, she does hemostat for screws. Hemostat at the beginning of wipe is kind of like not really worth it because you don't have a lot of screws, or if you do, you're using them on your hideout. So I recommend just going with the Esmarch. You also have your food and your water from her, but you can't really buy it outright unless you want water. And the crackers kind of suck. They're going to dehydrate you anyways. So I don't really look to Therapist all too much early wipe. I usually just find my own food in raid. As for Skier, let's look at Skier's level 1 barters here and trades. He has the headset, the M32 headset. That's pretty good. Besides that, he has some couple basic attachments which are good, like a foregrip and some foregrip stocks. So yeah, besides that, he doesn't have all too much. He does have 5.56 ammo and buckshot, and this press armor is pretty good, but the barter for it isn't. So I wouldn't recommend doing that barter. For Jaeger, you're going to get from doing a mechanic quest early on. Usually you can get them unlocked around level 4 if you do the quests in the right order. Personally, one of my favorite barters from Jaeger is the Slicker's bar for the scav vest. Now, early wipe, not a lot of people care about the scav vest because you're just going to kill scavs anyways and get scavs vests. But what I do keep in the back of my head is the Slicker bars. I always keep the Slicker bars because later on in the wipe, you're going to get to a mission where it asks you to wear a scav vest and run around and kill people. So later on the wipe, I've seen that the scav vest actually increases in price around like 20k, 30k. And if you're doing that quest, I don't think you're allowed to wear armor, or if you are, it's just like not really worth it because you usually have to use a shotgun, I think. So usually I have to use this scav vest a lot late game. So I stock up the Slicker bars and keep that in the back of my head. Another thing is the AKM. I think this is a pretty good trade. The 32k for an AKM early wipe is actually pretty good. You can load that in with a BP. Actually, wait, I think this is only the 336. Never mind. But you can still put the AP rounds in this, which is still pretty good. You should also look at his attachments like the EKP, which is also a very good sight at early wipe. It's basically a PKO6, but a little bit fatter and chunkier. It's not going to be that great, but it'll definitely do you good. The Dovetail Ops Ks Mount. This one's very big for me. If you have access to this one, early wipe, it'll help you in the long run because if you get the normal tan SKS, you can just slap this straight on there and you can put tons of sights on it. I know you can put the PSO sight and then a couple of the optical mounts on there. And then you also have barter for fuel, but not a lot of people do this one early wipe. It's not really worth it. All right, so going to Ragman. If we go to Ragman level 1 here, the SSH 68 helmet. This is like your bread and butter early wipe, I would say. Everyone uses this helmet early wipe, and for good reason. It has really good ricochet chance, and it's level 3, I believe. Let's see. Yeah, level 3. And you can get it for 22k. So I definitely recommend using this. You also got your pack of armor for 3 masks. That's definitely worth it. And then you also have a 29k trade. So all 3 of those are pretty decent. I also like the bank robber rig because it's cheap and you get 8 slots. And the printer paper, I don't know how personally, I don't know how worth it is at the beginning of wipe to trade for this headset. Personally, I don't usually trade for this headset, but I've seen people do it, and I guess it can be worth it if paper is going for pretty cheap. So we also have the MBSS, and I think that pretty much concludes all the trades for Ragman. MBSS for 12k, that's not a bad trade. I usually don't go for the Burkett early wipe just because I don't really need that much space. And on top of that, it's such a price hike compared to the MBSS. The MBSS is 12k and the Burkett is 23k, almost 24k. So you're almost paying double for only an extra 4 slots. In my opinion, that's not really worth it. Especially early wipe, you're not going to be fitting any enormous items in your backpack. Most guns aren't modded early wipe. You won't need all that extra space for longer weapons. So I would say the MBSS is pretty good. All right, so for mechanic level 1, let's see here. He has a couple barters here. So first barter is the tool set. You should be looking out for all these items: pliers, screwdriver, wrench, blue tape, and measuring tapes. There's an early quest, Farming Part 1, for mechanic, where you're going to need 2 tool sets to repair the walls inside a factory. So having these early game will help you a lot. They definitely skyrocket in price in the first week because people need these for that quest on the flea market. So I would definitely, if you see these items in raid, grab them and think about doing this barter. Now for the MP 133 shotgun, you got the pliers and the screwdriver for a pretty modded out shotgun in my opinion, and I think that one's definitely worth it. And then we're going to skip over to Peacekeeper real quick and wrap this up real quick. So we got the MPX for 7 dog tags, and that one's pretty cheap in my opinion and definitely worth it because the MPX is definitely a good holder for any attachments that you find in raid. You can put a sight on here, and then you can put like 3 flashlights or 2 flashlights and a foregrip. And I think you can even put like a suppressor in here in mid raid if you find the right one. And then you also have the MBSS backpack for a hard drive. So that's pretty good. All right, so moving on here, let's see. I think the third point to talk about here is to, get over your gear fear. Understand that you're going to die a lot more in the beginning of wipe. You're going to die to even scabs early wipe because you're not going to have good armor. They're just going to one tap you early wipe. You need to understand to get over gear fear. If you haven't reset your account already, I would say, use up all that money that you have on your old account. If you have like hundreds of millions of dollars or tens of millions of dollars for that matter, or even a million rubles, right? Just use the money, whether it's expensive gear or cheap gear. Just get used to getting over that gear fear. That's something I personally struggled with a lot when I started gaming. But, it's once you get over it, the game becomes so much more fun and you become so much more effective at the game as well, because you're going to play more riskier in situations that you should, and you're going to play less risky in situations that you don't have to. So it's definitely a lesson to be learned to get over your gear fear and just to get used to dying. Like, understand that your KD ratio at the beginning of life probably won't be that high. Definitely won't be as high as it is now because you aren't running level 6 armor, level 4 helmets, using the best ammo, best modded guns, right? So beginning of wipe, you need to understand that, you're going to die more often. Your KD is going to be lower. And yeah. So number 4 is your stash maps. This one is like one of the most important things on this list, in my opinion. If you understand your stash maps, and in the link, in the description, I'm going to put multiple links for every single map, for all the stash maps, right? So you can go through, shoreline, woods, customs, interchange. Those are the big 4. Those 4 maps: interchange, customs, shoreline, and woods. If you know the stashes on those maps, you're going to be in such a better position than someone that doesn't know them. Because there's been so many raids where I go in with just a level 1 armor, or not level 1, sorry, level 2, like a P.E.K.K.A, and I open up a stash box, and the first thing I find is a slick. So I think it's very important early wipe to understand where these stashes are, how to effectively loot them, and how to go from stash to stash to stash early wipe, because everyone on the map is going to be doing just that. Stashes early wipe are your bread and butter. They will help you so much to get your early game loot, to get all the items that you need for quests, and to get just stuff that helps you out overall. So I definitely recommend learning your stashes. I'm going to put all the links for the stashes in the description, so definitely go check that out if you haven't already. And yeah, so let's go ahead and move on to the last point here that I want to talk about. And it's getting good at your early quests. So this kind of goes back to resetting your account. So if you understand what quest order you should be working in, you're going to excel to level 10 to get your flea market unlocked way quicker. So I recommend that you go ahead and, if you reset your account, I would say just get a piece of scratch paper and just understand like what order you did in quests and like at what point did you unlock the flea market. And then, I think it's every 2 weeks you can reset your account. So, in a couple of weeks, do it again and try something different. And if that doesn't work, go ahead and just, keep trying things, see what works for you, see what's the fastest way to get to level 10, because as soon as you get to level 10 next wipe, it's definitely going to be super important for you to get to level 10 as soon as possible, because everything that you get is going to sell for way more at the beginning of wipe than it is at the end of wipe. So it's definitely more important to get to that level 10 right at the beginning, so you can sell things and make a lot of money. That way you can stock up on rubles, get things like cases and other items that you need. And yeah, that basically covers it all. So those are my top 5 things that you should be worrying about at the beginning of wipe. If you guys have any questions, please ask in the comments below. And I'd love to see some input from you guys. And yeah, I'm going to be putting out a video in the near future that's going to go in a little bit more depth about number 5, which is learning your early quests. So I'm going to make a video where I'm just going to break down the early quests, right? What's the fastest way to get to a quest? And what's the fastest way to get to level 10, right? So I'm just going to go ahead in another video and I'm going to break down exactly the quest path that's the most optimal to get to level 10. If you're interested in seeing that, please subscribe. I'd love to see some more subscribers on my channel. I'm almost at 200. And thank you guys for watching and have a good day.